Welcome into Inside LAFC podcast. We are live on LAFC YouTube. We are live on LAFC Facebook. I am Max Bretos. A gentle reminder at the top of every show, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the support that's out there. Love the comments. And this is a forum where you can ask questions, comments, concerns, what have you. Put them in the comment section. We will share it. As you can see, we are at BMO Stadium, where about an hour ago, less than that even, we introduced Marc Dos Santos as the third head coach in LAFC history. An important moment, and it takes you back to when Bob Bradley and Steve Cherundolo were announced and how this club grew. And there's our expectation that will continue to be the case, certainly with the black and gold standard, as LAFC under a new coach who is near and dear, entrenched into the black and gold culture as much as anybody. Here from the very beginning, we had the press conference streaming here as well on our YouTube channel, so we appreciate all the support that is there. Helio Sapo, I have to put the glasses. There's a bit of a glare, but I'm going to have to use it a little bit. But come on in. Joe, good to see you too as well. The press conference jacket, yeah, got to go to the dry cleaners and get a little bit done. But we'll get into all the news of Marc Dos Santos and all the latest LAFC chatter, of which there is a lot going on. But let's get right into the big news. Fresh off the printer, Marc Dos Santos introduced as LAFC head coach here. We had the press conference at the Field Club, which is where we've had so many incredible moments that I've had the honor to be involved with. Certainly going back to moments when Carlos Vela won his MVP award. Completely starstruck as I would go back to the director's box to start the proceedings, and you would see Gareth Bale or Giorgio Chiellini or Son Heung-min, guys that we all saw play, and all of a sudden you see them about to put on a LAFC shirt. We did the press conference for all the coaches, and now we're doing this for Marc Dos Santos. I am thrilled for Marc. Everyone who has spent some time with him knows the quality of person and how much he loves this club. We will get to what he has said. I know some people are seeing already about what's regarding what is the team going to be looking for moving ahead. And we've had those conversations, but this is something that Marc touched on, and which is going to be a very exciting development. There is 22 and maybe even 23 players already signed to the roster. This is a team that's going to be very busy right out of the jump with Concacaf Champions Cup, as is tradition, as they certainly have had in most of the past few years, including last year where they made the quarterfinals. They will start. We'll talk about that draw, but they have that. They have the game at the Coliseum against Inter Miami. Tickets are available on LAFC.com. And this will be this is right into the frying pan. There's no doubt. There's no easing into the season. You've got to have those expectations for the Concacaf Champions Cup, and you get this shot at the reigning champions in what's going to be a cauldron of an atmosphere across the street. We will continue to get in there. Jogo Bonito, David says, and I think you're referencing Marc's Portuguese background. He coached in Brazil. He fielded some questions in Portuguese as well. And we get to see the background. I mean, this guy earned his keep coaching in the lower divisions all over the United States and Canada to hone his craft. And he was identified ahead of 2018 to be a guy of high level that could come here and help LAFC. He got the Vancouver Whitecaps job in 2019, and Marc was asked about that during the press conference. And keep in mind, it was a very difficult time with COVID just starting. He got the job in 2019, and he hit COVID head on. And if you will recall, and Marc touched on this, the Vancouver Whitecaps, in order to play an MLS schedule, were based in the United States. I believe it was Portland. So he says he's learned a lot from that experience, and it's all led to this moment here. So we will certainly ask the questions, but I did want to get into some of the details that Marc touched on. He did a little showing off there as he spoke in 3 languages. He speaks 4 languages, which helps him do his job. He is a cosmopolitan person who has soaked in all these experiences from all the places he has been. Question was asked about his style, and his response to that, his playing style or his tactics, or however you want to look at that And he mentioned, he goes, it's an LAFC style. An LAFC style. Now, that may be a little nebulous as you take a look at what that could mean, but it is clear that Marc Dos Santos is wanting to make this team as effective as possible. And looking at the foundation stones of LAFC at the beginning, an entertaining brand, Showtime type play here in Los Angeles. Whatever that looks like, he said, I am aligned with the LAFC style, which I think gets you very excited. There was also something he was asked about, the supporter culture. And this was very interesting when he said the 3252 didn't want to call them the best fan base in MLS, but he did say something that was even stronger, that I think emphasized how important the supporters are. He said they are the heartbeat of this team. They are a 12th man. They make this team better. And then he touched on how good they are at home. And he's one of the key things he wants to look into is to bring that heartbeat, find a way to bring that heartbeat on the road so that LAFC can balance their schedule home and away and reach new heights. Joe had a question from Mark's past as an assistant here and as far back in his previous coaching stops. What can we expect in terms of play, immediate difference in formation, etc., that we can expect? I don't know about the formation. I truly think he's going to be something that Marc Dos Santos will pride himself. He was on Steve Cherundolo's staff for remarkable years. And you'd have to think he will take that and use what's familiar with a player base that's going to remain intact. But that said, Marc Dos Santos wants to make this into the vision that he sees fit, that will align with what he knows, what his expectations are, and what he said, as I shared earlier, the LAFC style that he is aligned with. Max, what do you think about bringing Lucas Moura in the midfield for our club, helping Sonny and Denny score? Well, Lucas Moura, with that Tottenham Hotspur connection, who knows? We spoke to John Thorrington, and he touched on what the club is going to do. The people you can see already, it's been an incredible Monday in Major League Soccer, a lot of signings happening. John told us he will be looking to get some key pieces. I would not expect a guy like the level of Son Heung-min, certainly, but maybe he did such about the under-22 initiative player that they could use, finding some depth pieces at all lines as they also wait for Aaron Long and Igor Jesus to come back from injury. They're both expected at some point this season. So it is going to be a very strong LAFC side, but they don't stop at being good. They want to be great. And we saw with the cavalcade of players that came in all year, it is going to be a ride. It's going to be a ride to see who LAFC pursue, who they bring in, and how the resources with Marc Dos Santos and the players are capable of accentuating this team that's going to be very good. As I said last week, LAFC to me were the third best team at the end of the 2025 season behind the two finalists. That's a great launching point, knowing you can get better. And the best teams on the other conference. So being top in the West certainly would be a good target, and it's very, very doable for LAFC. Max, from what you know, how does Mark feel about the derbies? Hasn't touched on it, but man, he's lived them. He's lived those things with the Galaxy. Those are embedded into what he is looking at for this team. And when you bleed black and gold, which Mark does, he also touched on how important this club is, this city is to him and his family. He's not going to be settled to losing these big derby games. So certainly that is something ingrained in him. Everything that you feel as a fan, he touched on. He goes, this is how I feel. This is the club. Keep in mind, this is a dream job for him. This is the position that he would want, a coaching opportunity that, barring 5 or 6 coaches on the planet, anyone would consider. They're at that level. LAFC are now compared to clubs on the global stage for success, for just the decorum with everything this club is. The creme de la creme, we're looking in there, and John Thorrington, with all of that data, came out with Marc Dos Santos. This is Inside LAFC Podcast. We're at BMO Stadium. It's always great to be here as we just wrapped up the press conference for Marc Dos Santos being announced the third head coach for LAFC, who are heading into their 9th season all time. Very true on the 12th man. Players feed off the energy the supporters provide. It is without question. It is tangible when you feel what those fans do. And you talk about the players and the coaches. They may not show it all the time, but when you ask them, they light up about what that support means. And LAFC, since the beginning in 2018, I believe, are the most successful home team in MLS over that span. Gomez, positive on Mark that he will be able to communicate directly with Spanish-speaking players? 100%. I bet you he's been working on his Korean. Not that he needs to with son Heung-min, but I think that would be a very endearing situation, certainly, to endear yourself to a group of players that John Thorrington said signed off on Marc Dos Santos. He's put a lot of work in there with regards to making those connections and having a player base, a high-profile player base that will play for him. Hey, some talk here. Some people saying about Christian Espinoza, who is a free agent. It would be amazing. We will stay attuned. I'm telling you, LAFC have never disappointed with regards to their pursuit. They're always in the mix, and players want to come here without question. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. One thing that Mark did touch on, a very direct question, and he gave a very direct answer. Someone said, what are the strengths and weaknesses of LAFC? And Mark was like, okay, I'll give you something. And I was taken back by that because it could have been a coach speak question. And once he tells you this, and it is for all of us to hear, that's on the public record. And we know this, but it's very good to hear the coaches talk about that from his perspective. So what Mark said, we are at our best getting behind a back line where we can stretch the defense, we can transition, get behind a defensive line, and cause havoc, cause chaos. I am putting this into my own words here, but that's essentially what he would say. He then quickly flipped over and said, the weakness is we've got to get better at cracking teams when they play a low block. And we've seen that with many occasions. And maybe your first instinct to that is like he's telling the teams how to play LAFC. This is what's going to be difficult. But it's no secret. LAFC had to face that time and time again. And we saw it, I think, with the exception of the Whitecaps in San Diego. Most teams that played LAFC played back, played in a lower block to prevent that space from getting back. Some teams will give it to you. But Marc Dos Santos, by saying that, has prioritized it. And I can assure you he has a plan on getting this team to crack down a low block, and we'll see how that goes moving forward. But that is at the top of the list. I love that he made that public for all of us as we get to look forward to the Marc Dos Santos era, which we hope will be as fruitful. John Thorrington also said when he when he got up to the podium, he's never felt more confident about the direction that LAFC is going. And I just, I've known John a very long time. I used to call his games as a player. I just don't think John says things for the sake of saying things unless he truly means it. He is transparent. He will put things on the record. He is there to be an open book. So if he says that, and this club has positioned this team to be in a position where they could do that with regards to starting the season well, which they didn't, it was the team was incomplete at the beginning of last season. And then you saw it get so much stronger when all the pieces were in place. We feel the pieces are in place at the head of 2026. LOL, learning Korean. Who knows? He is the Austin Powers of LAFC, Marc Dos Santos. He knows all the languages, international man of mystery. Yes, speaking different languages helps with the locker room for sure. And that's something that we touch on, but obviously so much more. Marc Dos Santos, when you talk to people who know him, or you talk to John, or you talk to the ownership group, he has excelled in interpreting all the tactics, all the tendencies for our player base, and in particular to have a successful system. He has had that head coaching experience, which is important as well. So he's a very good candidate, and I think everyone touched on that, looking as is why Marc Dos Santos is in this position. And just to reiterate, he was given the green light by the players. This was the guy they wanted. Let's get some of the questions here. It is Inside LAFC podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Mark mentioned how his experience at Vancouver helped him grow through struggle. How do you think his approach as a head coach might differ from Vancouver here in LA? Well, the struggle included the time during COVID. I think that will help. They had to live a very nomadic lifestyle with regards to getting that thing on track. And I would say the end of it, which was the end of the third year, Vancouver was playing okay, but they went ahead and made the shift, and that allowed Mark to come back in 2022 for this golden era for LAFC from 2022 to the end of 2025, where he will take over. I think it's important that you had that head coaching experience. And even though that didn't go as well as you would have liked, the struggle gives you layers. And if he didn't have that experience, I don't think you can appoint Mark today. LAFC would want somebody with some head coaching experience. Marc Dos Santos has that in his resume, and he was very open about the struggle, and you learn from that. I mean, you look at his coaching career, it is lengthy. He'd go to the lower divisions. He was with the San Francisco Deltas of the NASL before coming to LAFC. So no job too big or too small, but this, without question, the biggest job that he has ever had, and it's the job that he wanted more than anyone else. I respect Steve's choice to work behind the scenes, but will Mark stand up and communicate more from the box? He's going to be on the sideline. We saw him there. He was in charge of the data. He had the iPad, and he pushed forward with all of that. Mark is going to be front-facing. He also touched on wanting this job, that while he was with LAFC, he wanted to do the very best job as an assistant. He wasn't positioning himself to go for the head coaching job. When the opportunity arose, he was a candidate. He got the gig. Hopefully we see some attitude from Mark. Need to have a big game hunter who can motivate the team in the crunch games, motivate the team to make their own luck where they previously fell short. That's from Craig. Mark is a super nice guy, and you talk to him, he's warm. But when he's got that coaching hat, you see him at the performance center with these players. And he said this word at least 7 or 8 times. I am an intense individual. And you take him at his word. The intensity is there for Mark to do his job effectively. And keep in mind the players that he has worked with in an assistant role, where LAFC gives so much power to these players or to these coaches, dealing with high-profile talent, which we certainly see here with heung-min and Denny Bouanga, and you saw that with some of the players that had come while he was an assistant since 2022. CCC match, we call it now, February 17th, season opener 21st, second CCL match 24th. How much focus will we put in the opener versus Miami as opposed to the Honduras away match? Mark touched on that as well. He said, I'm focused on the first game. Did not really want to address Inter Miami. February 17th is when the season opens. By the way, they could have had some Concacaf Champions Cup games earlier. Some teams are starting on the very first week of February. So LAFC have a little more time, and it bookends that Inter Miami game that will follow with the second leg at BMO Stadium. So let us talk about, if you want to have the questions of Marc Dos Santos, we will continue with that. But last week, we didn't have the results of the Concacaf Champions Cup. I'm sure you have seen them now. It begins in San Pedro Sula, Honduras, against Real España, February the 17th. It's a much different draw than what LAFC had last year, where they had MLS team, Colorado, Columbus, and then Inter Miami. They would have had Vancouver if they went any further. They will not, in all likelihood, if they can get to the quarterfinals, face an MLS team. I thought this was a really good draw for LAFC and just for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They did a much better job. There's much improved and interesting matchups along the way. So some LAFC fans will make that trip. We anticipate LAFC advances out of that. They will be a favorite. There's no doubt about it. And waiting for them in the round of 16 will be Alajuelense, which is the team that LAFC played back in 2023. So that's where it all starts. Incredible start for LAFC. You have Concacaf Champions Cup first leg, Inter Miami. Then you have the second leg, and then you actually have the BMO Stadium opener against Dallas in early March. Thank you to Chris. Always appreciate. I mean, you say I look clean, but actually, we had to wear the suit today for the press conference, so extra clean. Actually, had to go to the dry cleaners. This is Inside LAFC Podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all your support. It will be rough traveling all the way to Honduras and come back and play Miami. That is without question. And Honduras is further away than I think people think. You think Central America, it's a quick jaunt. It's not. And that is going to be, think about it from Real España's perspective. They're getting LAFC, which has got equity and clout in this region. And they have LAFC. They're going to bring in heung-min, one of the biggest stars on the planet. Real España have never had a date like this. They are not as successful as Olimpia, the other Honduran team, or we have seen from Alajuelense, who are the top Central American team, and that's why they have a bye. John Lee, Mark going to the same style with Sonny and Denny up front. 2026 account tactics. You have to. That is where the bread is buttered for LAFC. The question is, how do you surround those two so they can be as effective, and those two can open the door for some other players? And we will see it. And this is the good news. When they opened against Colorado, this team was in flux last year. You could pretty much put together a starting 11 for this game right now. You certainly could. Maybe there's some new players on the way. Probably will be. But that is a starting 11 that you couldn't have done a year ago where they were still building the roster. That will benefit LAFC and hopefully get them a deep run in the Concacaf Champions Cup. Really quickly about that tournament, LAFC's on the bottom half of their bracket. If they just, I'm not saying they're going to get this far, but if they get by Alajuelense, in all likelihood, they will face Cruz Azul or the Monterrey in a quarterfinal. The two favorites are on the other side of the bracket. On the top side, Toluca, who just won a second straight Mexican championship. That could potentially be a semifinal matchup. And in my estimation, the favorite overall is going to be Inter Miami. They're on the other side. The only way you'd face Inter Miami is if you made a final. Club America's on that side too. That could be a matchup moving forward. So a good bracket, an exciting bracket, and it all starts February 17th. If you get down there, be very careful and be safe, whether you go to Honduras or possibly Costa Rica after that. So it's all happening. What is there something about Lucas Moura, Ben Davis? So apparently people here are feeling this Tottenham Hotspur connection is going to reveal itself. Son Heung-min said he's going to be a big part of bringing talent here. We'll see how that manifests itself. That certainly happened with Miami in Inter Miami. Now you got everyone else going on about Ben Davis. So Inside LAFC Podcast, a lot happening, never a dull minute. We're a year-round broadcast because LAFC is going to be in the middle of it all. We need someone at least. You can rest assured LAFC will fill out this roster. They know what they need. Now Marc Dos Santos begins his job, sitting with John Thorrington, the ownership group, his new staff, and what they will be looking for to make this team as effective as possible. The good part, you don't really need the big ticket items because you have Denny and you have Sonny and you have, by the way, ESPN did a top 50 players in the United States based on all the data. Mark Delgado was in number 18. Timothy Tillman was 20. And Ryan Hollingshead was 24. So that's just the data telling you that. I'm not saying they're that high, but the computer thinks very highly of our roster. Any insight on Long and Igor's recovery? Igor Jesus, it was an ACL, so that's going to be a bit longer. Aaron Long, we've seen him walking around the premises. He is a super athlete. Whenever he comes back, it will be sooner. I don't know if it'll be at the beginning of the season, but maybe a little bit closer. Just bring CR7. Why not? Why not? And I see the Mo Salah. I would love to see Mo Salah in MLS. I don't think LAFC would be his destination. Real quickly, just to give you some update on the business of MLS, the MLS free agency has opened, and there have been some big, this has been a huge Monday. Reguilón coming over from Tottenham Hotspur, going to Inter Miami. The rich get richer, but that's the standard that LAFC and many other clubs are going to have to continue. Carlos Coronel, I just saw, to Orlando City. So free agency is opening, and I'm sure John Thornton got out of this press conference, is on the phone to see what this team could possibly do. Also want to touch on the MLS Super Draft will be December the 18th. LAFC do have a pick in the first round, 24th pick. They also have a third round pick. Historically, LAFC don't build through the draft, but there have been some moments where they have. And Kenny Nielsen, who saw some time last year, did get drafted by LAFC. And that was a nice local connection, Kenny being from Irvine, California. All jerseys are amazing, but without saying anything, have you seen the new black jersey yet? I have not. We will see it all together. If you had to guess what specific positions would they bolster, they would look for somebody, I think, in an attacking wing capacity. I think they would like a little more depth in midfield, although with Mathieu Choinier, who we touched on last week, coming in, you have those three midfielders. Buying some time for Igor Jesus. I think they'll look for someone who can play that six role a little bit. And I think the midfield was a real strength at the end. Could they have had more goals? 100%. But Tillman and Delgado both had very, very good years. That's not me saying it. That's a lot of people. Mark Delgado was on a lot of honorable mentions in best 11. I saw it with my own eyes. Concacaf Champions should be priority number one. It will be. Marc Dos Santos said as much. But we'll be here. Plenty of stuff happening with LAFC. We'll see what the Super Draft brings. You can get guys there that can help build through this academy and moving forward. And free agency opens. LAFC will look at where they feel. And now they have the coach in place. Now they can get into the business of making this team better. A lot of big trades happening. You saw the Galaxy going after Jacob Glesnes, who was the defender of the year or in the running for it. Everyone's getting active. It's the silly season. We embrace it. But we are here, Inside LAFC podcast, live from BMO Stadium, where the big announcement today, Marc Dos Santos has been announced as the third head coach in LAFC history. Let's support him. The season will be here before you know it. Will be interesting how LAFC will manage games with CCC and MLS. They have experience doing it. The question is, how deep will their run be? I think they'll get off to a good start, and they got the right man in place. So let's support Marc Dos Santos and move forward here. Every Monday, Inside LAFC podcast. Before you go, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you very soon. I may not be in a suit next time, but we'll get the job done. We might be in the safe confines of the Bretos Ponderosa studio. Till we meet again, let's go black and gold.